It's Zenzi. It's a hashtag Bongo Naked. Bongo Naked series. This is a straight line call out to me and Magic Matthew McConaughey. So read his book Green Lights. All right. Bongo Naked is his civil rights were violated by the cops. I mean, he was making a little noise on the bongos, but he was at home in his own residence. They didn't attempt. They just came storming in. He happened to be sans clothing at the time. I mean, you're Magic Matthew McConaughey, of course. Why not? And so the only way he could prove that the police busted in was for him not to put any pants on. They hauled him downtown, so to speak. Naked. The point of this is having your civil rights violated by the police or people in charge. It's Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. And I am getting prepared for Spirit of Asilomar. Thank you, Blue. Just a small conversation that was what I needed. Because last night, I was societally assaulted, culturally assaulted, assumptionally assaulted by a white man. In charge of who knows what. Cultural norm. I was chatting with a couple. The wife and I had really struck up a rapport. She really started the conversation. And this man, this overseer, the whiteness thought tradition, comes behind me, behind my back, and is somehow making motions or hand gestures, what the international language is. Is she a crazy person that I need to call the cops and I need to get her away from? Is she bothering you? What is this? Why are we been having about a 5-minute conversation about consciousness and Genentech? I mean, they volunteered that her husband was alive. He took Genentech medicines successfully to reverse his cancer. I'm 100% pro Genentech. Although maybe not quite so high a percentage on Roche. And I was a consultant there in HR systems when the takeover occurred, and was part of having to integrate the HR systems between these two many billion-dollar companies making drugs for things that we don't understand. Well, we do not understand what is going wrong with the human body fully, because we don't actually understand in any way, shape, or form how the human body is working. Body, mind, and soul, integrated fashion. That's the key. So the angle here at Spirit of Asilomar is I'm trying to find the leaders in biotech who can see that the fact that we don't have a very good conception in the societal cultural zeitgeist of how the human body works. We've got all this prejudice against diversity of any kind. This man in charge knows that I'm autistic. There's no randomness here. Targeted me. I done a Socratic improv performance for him. To all, nothing but smiles, agreements. One of the men, it was 4 white men. Strangely enough, I feel like they're decades older than me, but probably younger. And the point was they were talking about design and remodeling and stuff, and I had talked about being autistic. I got very, very, very scared. So I got angry in the first video. But this is the one getting posted. So anyone who's at Spirit of Asilomar can understand what it's like to have a different neurotype. And we're done with the challenges because, I've sorted the hard problem of consciousness into an easy pivot. I've developed the philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism. We're putting the hyphen in that word, bio-electromagnetism, philosophical hypothesis of. Because we're going to have to take the hyphen out real quick. The next neuroscience is bio-electromagnetism. Have I let that resound enough? I have a poetic theory of quantum physiology. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, Gödel's incompleteness theorem, and Helfrich's, that's me, life-centric complexity axiom. I'm the globe's original philosopher of quantum physiology. And I'm just not, I'm not commenting on existing science. I'm inventing, philosophically, theoretically, the science that needs to start happening right now. But you see, I don't want to do the science, and I don't really want to be under the thumb of people paying for the science. Because the theory has to be coherent to explain the functioning of all 8 billion humans across every nook and cranny of Earth. Our current Western whiteness thought tradition paradigm is only really concerned with white males of an American nature, basically, anymore. All of whom are dragging the entire globe through their inferiority complex that's causing them to they can't allow fair competition. They can't give everyone enough money to be creative. Because we'll out-create them. They're very rigid thinking, very, very categorically, very linear. And it's going to self-extinct our species in approximately 30 years. You see, the value of my proprietary IP, Life-Centric Thinking, is that we all need to start thinking as one species. We need a global hive mind. The social impact aspect, public philosophy that is informed by bleeding edge science across all the domains. See, nobody is synthesizing. Nobody's getting the ability to see what's going on in neuroscience and physiology, what's going on in body cognition, what's going on in trauma healing. It's interesting, we don't really even have, that's right, but we're talking Gabor Mate, okay? Bessel, Van der Kolk. We're talking about serious doctors, PhDs, researchers, and people who have taken a bite out of trauma. But I don't think we're seeing enough that there isn't, that there's so much trauma being generated every day. That we're going through a situation of CC, TSD, current chronic trauma stress disorder. And by the way, I've redefined autism, and I went out to an autism organization to keep me alive. Right, finding it. I pitched a documentary on redefining autism to watch me reverse my autism. I was just denied freedom of speech at a public California state park by a man in charge who the night before, in a clearly audible conversation at a bar buying a female colleague a drink, was talking about tequila body shots. I find that borderline. I think it is an inappropriate reference between a senior colleague and the guy in charge. It's subtle. But these are the kinds of things we're all dealing with every day. Very subtle, slight perturbances. There's an arena where, I don't know, maybe you always can mention, but work is not a place that you should be bringing that concept up. Passing around perversive behaviors constantly. And judging an autistic genius. I have a savant skill for comprehending consciousness and demonstrating it. All of my choices for how to express myself after figuring out how to stay alive, the toxic mold exposure took away over 90% of my capacity to walk and talk. What I say, how I say it, everything about me is a conscious choice to stay alive as myself. All of the layers of what society told me I had to be, they took too much energy. In order to stay alive, I had to be and continue to have to just never ever not be who I am. And who I am is not built on popularity, built on seeing these inane, inaccurate categories that we judge people about. I'm on the side of all 8 billion humans. Bio-electromagnetism. Obama's. The current Western medical conception of human functioning. There is something we've missed. It's in our blind spot. It's very understandable. While experts in the field, you don't ever get to ask questions at the basic stuff. The basic stuff comes at you so fast because you got to sprint so far to be in the current. You got to know all this stuff now. This hundreds of years of history, this hundreds of years, and the early stuff gets compressed, and you don't have time to ask questions. And so certain paradigms, like the Cartesian split, there is no mind-body separation. None whatsoever. Your mind can only be as mentally fit as your physiology is optimized. You see, all this disease stuff, we're focusing solely on what we can charge people money for. There is basic core, how do humans operate functionality? It is completely in our blind spot. And when it comes to biotech, here's the thing. The gene theory has been grossly distorted in the socio-cultural zeitgeist. The general population thinks genes do everything. You know, we've got some of these problems in all kinds of various places. My work is to come back and help us understand how can we be 99% genetically identical to bonobos and chimpanzees, and yet be so impossible to look. I don't know how to describe what's went wrong with the US of hypocrisy. We can break it down, but there is no quick answer here. This is why we need the philosophical method out on a stage. Science informed. Stand-up philosophy. I'm going for some laughter, but most of the time light bulbs. And I'm going fast and quick. It is a mental fitness challenge to keep up with me. And so right now, like 98% of American adults, when they can't keep up with me, say I have a mental illness. Because I have a proficiency in conversation built to be a one-woman stand-up monologue like this. The police have been called on me during about a 2-week period in July 2024. 5 times a vigilante called the Pacific Grove Police on me for being asleep in my car. As Matthew McConaughey was bongoing in his own home. We are American citizens doing nothing criminal-minded. In fact, we're both very philosophical-minded. And we need that out in the zeitgeist. And science needs, right now, to see you gotta have some wise feminine philosophy as your bestie. And I've tried to go here, there, and everywhere. And my performances are just too #neurocomplex. You're letting me die because I am an autistic savant. And everyone keeps telling me, I've snapped my fingers, now you need to be an entirely different person. I am an autistic savant of consciousness. What does it take to get somebody to help me? So that I can give us a version of human functioning that is inclusive of all 8 billion humans across every nook and cranny of Earth. From the San, Kalahari Desert of Botswana, the Kikuyu in Tanzania, the Shangaan around Landalozi, the real place that I have taken my chosen soul name, Zenzile Landalozi. I am responsible for who I've become, the protector of all living beings. Quantum physiology includes mammalia. Most definitely, I've got data. I've been doing all kinds of experiments. Consciousness experiments, theoretical thinking, proving how, not just how consciousness operates, but revising how we think about a lot of our physiological challenges. Because consciousness isn't a property of the brain. Consciousness is a property of the body entirely. The brain most certainly can be considered a hub of consciousness, but a hub may even be overstating it. We got some proprietary IP here. The reason we have a lot of trouble with biotech, back to Spirit of Asilomar and this bongo naked, is because the general public thinks genes do a lot more than genes do. And what we need is the new science. It's right around the corner. There's the new journal, Bioelectricity. It's pushing through. All this tension is built up. It's literally like, we're having an aneurysm in the brain, and there's all this pressure building up, and because we don't have an adequate conception of how humans function. If we do that, then we're going to ease down a lot of fear. We're going to help people be able to avoid, we're going to prevent chronic disease. All chronic disease needs to be addressed at the bio-electromagnetic level. When we're not getting the results from biochemistry. And bio-electromagnetism, and here's another $1 billion worth of IP for you, is the domain of healing that we now call the placebo effect. Bioelectromagnetism, understanding the concept, means that we can develop my proprietary IP placebo tools in complement to what's going on with biotech to keep moving on. What's going to just completely change the terrain. The people who I meet at Spirit of Asilomar, you're right at the cutting edge. Just as the people at Genentech. The next 50 years is going to be about integrating the philosophical hypothesis of bio-electromagnetism, which sorts the hard problem of consciousness into an easy pivot. And gives us a unified, integrated body, mind, and soul outlook on human functioning. You've got to see the math of life in action. And it's going, the future is really going to shift positively. And I'm the globe's original consulting philosopher of bio-electromagnetism. We need me out in front preparing the public so that we can stop throwing money into an abyss and start spreading the money around in ways that enable the whole species to thrive. We're all in this together, and the planet is not going to support terrestrial life much longer. And it's going to come top down, right? We've extincted so many, we've pulled out so many of those cards. We are one, and we can't predict it. I personally think, oh, there's pandemics, there's global warming, it's all getting really, 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 really bad. I think we're missing how much technology unintentionally, I don't think anybody sees this. Technology is devolving human intelligence rapidly. I call it the hashtag neurodemic. Attention span, just give me the declining attention span, all right? And but there's more. There's a lot more. We're not seeing the implications of AI on human intelligence, okay? I'm not anti any of these things. I'm a Carnegie Mellon degreed philosopher. I was down with tech from the old days. A woman in some kind of somewhere. No, there's no P's. There's no P's. We don't have, not yet discovered how much we're missing wise feminine philosophy, but we are. Biotechnology is key. We need a better public zeitgeist understanding, more expertise. That's one of the things that I'm offering, and I need help finding the right institutions. No, screw it all. Help me. Hashtag MacArthur Genius Grant 2025. Harmony. This has been Zenzi.